just before the stone fell down again. He thinks he had a high moment then.
Mm-hmm. And do you prefer happiness or unhappiness? Do you have some? You prefer in the sense that sometimes you unconsciously prefer the contrary of what you prefer consciously. So
yes, well, it's very difficult to know what you desire unconsciously because you're unconscious of it. But I would say, as I look back over my life, I do prefer some difficulty. I seem to always go for it.
Mm-hmm. So you would choose for unhappiness if it's useful in a way.
In a way, yes. If it isn't too dire.
Yes.
If it's not like dying of cancer or being hit by a car.
That's beyond unhappiness.
Yes, yeah.
The ultimate unhappiness, which is also not useful at all.
Yes, agreed.
Mm-hmm. And you have been also 10 years in Ibiza during your traveling around.
Yes, yes.
So how would you best describe this huge bubble of life there?
It's very hard to do that in a few words. I know that when I first came there, I had the very strong sense that I had found the ideal place for me. It was like a little Greenwich village. There were a lot of artists and writers there, sculptors, and all that. There were. It was a very quiet life. We would get our mail in town. We didn't have telephones or TV, obviously. We didn't even have radio. Most of the houses, including mine, didn't have electric lights. We didn't have running water. Our water was brought. We bought it every month, and it was pumped up to it was pumped into a cistern, and then you had a gasoline pump that pumped the water up to a tank on the roof, and that was your water. It was nicer for me while it was all that way, because we used big kerosene lamps then, and they shed a beautiful golden light. Everything looked better with those lights. Not easy to read by, though.
And what have you been eating 1 year in Ibiza? Which kind of food did you get?
Well, we usually ate home, and I remember my wife and I made a lot of Chinese food. The Ibizan food was all right, but it was very simple. It was lamb chops and potatoes and things. So we wanted things with different spices very much. Of course, we had a lot of paella, and there was a lot of spaghetti there.
Yes. And did you never feel in a way in exile? Because you are born in a completely opposite kind of society, New York, the core of the more modern age, and maybe you could feel in a way in exile in such an opposite place.
Well, at first, in my first years there, I didn't feel exile. I felt rescued from civilization. After a while, though, I got a little bored and I wanted a city again.
In a way, you were feeling like the main character of Journey Beyond Tomorrow, the guy of the Fiji island, which
yes.
had just a brief dive into modern age and then
yes.
survived to the end of the world.
Yes, I'm sure that my experience had its influence in the writing of that book.
Mm-hmm.
Though I didn't write that book there, though. I wrote that in Miami Beach, Florida, some years after all. I'm not sure about. I can't get dates straight. I'm not sure when I.
Well, does it actually make a real meaning? Do we really believe in linearity of time?
I don't think so. But you have to waste a lot of words to explain why you don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, schizophrenic people usually don't have this kind of approach to time. They just have bubbles of experiences coexisting without a linear connection one to each other.
Yes, a lot of people live that way too.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, they are extreme, but it's one of the possible patterns.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes. I wonder if Phil Dick ever lived that way.
It's quite likely in a way. I don't know. If someone would have lived like that, probably it would have been him.
Yes.
Once he saw a big face, metallic face in the sky that watched him with a very bad expression for 3 days.
Really? Yeah. Everybody lives in a bubble, though. You know, I think everybody walks along in their own time and at their own pace. It's like this bubble softens life for you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, or did you ever have, and then dismissed, any definition about the word art?
About the word art, okay, or about the concept of art?
Yes, the concept, of course.
Well, I was and still am very interested in the concept and the idea of art, but I always thought it was a good idea to not get into it. I didn't want to be a scholastic. I didn't want to study what art is. And I didn't want to think, am I doing art or am I not? I didn't think those were proper questions for me. For other people maybe, but I didn't want a part of it. Mm-hmm. So.